Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fueling Better with GasBuddy. I'm Mike DiLorenzo, GasBuddy's head of marketing, joined as always by Patrick De Haan, our esteemed head of fuel analysis. Fueling Better, this is our video series where we help you with all the tips, tricks, news, and analysis so you can make informed decisions and save a ton of money at the pump. Shop smart, pay smart with GasBuddy, the most ways to save, the most places to save. Today, we're talking about the priciest states to drive in. I should start by saying, if you want to know where your state falls in terms of priciest states, just check out the GasBuddy blog. We've got all states ranked. But Patrick, at this moment in time, and this is an interesting year, 2020, for lots of reasons, you had a supply and demand issue with the major producers, and then, of course, a global pandemic, which influenced the supply side. Why are states different? Why do different states have different prices? Certainly taxes are an issue, but not the only one. Help us understand.
Yeah, Mike. So when we look at it from this angle, of course, the two biggest factors in the price of driving, the cost of gasoline, of course, a big one, and the cost to insure a vehicle. And like you mentioned, gasoline taxes vary. I'm sure most of you probably assume that California is going to be at the top of this list, but there indeed were some surprises, and that goes back to the cost of insuring a vehicle.
Now, what are some of the hidden costs, for example, in a gallon of gasoline that could influence, for example, why a state like Hawaii has unusually high gas, but some of the Gulf Coast states see much less expensive gas?
Well, it all comes down to regionality. The West Coast, the Hawaii, Alaskas, Californias, they all not only have higher gasoline taxes, but the geography comes into play here as well. And what you noted, the comparison, the Gulf Coast tends to be the cheapest area to drive in terms of gasoline prices, because the Gulf states not only have low taxes, but the key between the two is geography and where they're located. The Gulf Coast close to the nation's refining hub, whereas the West Coast a little bit disconnected from the rest of the country.
Are there states or regions of the country where prices on a hourly or daily basis can be more volatile than others?
Oh, most certainly. You tend to see a lot of volatility in gas prices in the Great Lakes. That can be good and bad for consumers based on your timing of purchases. So that factors in here as well.
In states where prices are low and states where prices are high, Patrick, are consumers more susceptible at one end of the spectrum or another in terms of overpaying for gas relative to where they might find a less expensive?
Yeah, absolutely.
And at which end of the spectrum are consumers more at risk for overpaying?
Well, you tend to see more of that risk in these higher price states, the bigger cities, LA, San Diego, these beautiful sunny palm tree areas. Have great weather, but they also have the most volatility in gas prices. So you talk about going to Los Angeles, the spread between the low and high stations, you could pay 50 cents a gallon more or less just by looking within a mile or two. And of that, you can also save by checking out the Pay with GasBuddy card that can save you an additional 25 cents a gallon with deal alerts. So you see a lot of that, and that certainly factors into the gas portion of what you're paying.
Now, there are many states that seasonally encounter Mother Nature and disruptions there. What are you hearing from your friends in the meteorological circles and elsewhere about what's expected for storms this year and potential supply disruptions that would impact prices negatively?
Well, Mike, we all think back to 2017 and Hurricane Harvey decimating refineries and how that impacted prices. This year appears to be another above average year for hurricanes. So we're going to have to be on the alert for any potential storms later this summer. And with gas prices already going up and demand going up as we recover from coronavirus, we could see a double dose of price increases later this summer.
Okay. Last question is, there's a phenomenon in retail fuel called the rocket and the feather. The rocket being when prices increase rather suddenly, the feather being that when they retreat, the settling can be more slow. Is that a real thing, Patrick? And if so, what influences the speed of the increase and the latency of the decrease?
I think it's certainly absolutely true that prices tend to go up much faster than they come down. And that kind of plays into the psychological aspect of gas prices and markets. That is, fear is what pushes prices up very quickly. It becomes kind of a runaway train, if you will. And then on the downside, stations are slower to pass those lower prices along, especially what we saw in March and April with coronavirus decimating oil prices. But gas prices went down so slow in this case because stations were so uncertain about what lays ahead and how much gasoline demand fell. They were very worried about lowering prices too quickly and ultimately shooting themselves in the foot.
Got it. Well, thank you as always, Patrick. Motorists, that's the way it is here at GasBuddy and Fueling Better, June 24th, 2020. Be sure to tune in for other episodes where we give you all the tips, tricks, news, and analysis for you to save tons of money on gas.